Okay, good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I have today with me Vivek, who's the CMO of Pidilite. Vivek Sharma has a glorious career, like he's been a CMO at Philips as well. He's got extremely diverse experience in marketing on the consumer goods side, both in FMCG as well as consumer electronics. Ratnesh has been a stalwart both in consulting and the CX strategy space and the IT space for a long time. Uh, I'm sure you guys will talk more about what you've gone through in your careers and the challenges you faced. Sarvagya is the lead for marketing for CX India, and he's again got a glorious career both on the consumer electronics, digital side, and the digital marketing side. Um, I'll start the discussion with each one of you taking us through a little bit about your career, the journey, and some key challenges that you faced, and the key big shifts or fundamental changes that you've seen in your career as you've gone through your journey. So Vivek, why don't you start? Why don't we start with you, and then we'll move to Ratnesh and Saubhagya.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Vivek Sharma. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Pidilite. In my career, I have been through Cadbury's, Ogilvy, short time at Onida, Philips, and now Pidilite. And I've been through roles in sales, marketing, P&L heads across B2B, B2C, and B2G businesses. So that, in short, has been my career, including the 5 year stint in advertising in Ogilvy. And if you want to look at challenges, I think challenges remain consistent and same across many careers, and mine has have been similar. The challenges of transition, because I've transitioned across advertising and marketing, I've transitioned across sales and marketing, I've transitioned across industries, as you said, right from selling chocolates and snacks and confectionaries to advertising, then to electronics, then to healthcare, lighting, B2B, B2C, now chemicals, adhesives, and waterproofing. So challenges have been actually transitioning from one industry to another and transitioning across roles. And the underlying challenge everywhere has been to get going and running in the shortest time possible. So I think that summarizes my set of challenges like everyone else's.
Ratnesh, what about you? Your journey and some key challenges and big shifts that you've seen in the world of marketing as you've gone through this journey.
Yeah, so not a co-marketing guy, been more of a CRM, customer experience guys. Good old days, it used to be called CRM, but then it has a very varied sizes and shapes and all that. My experience primarily, or my intro to marketing, incidentally, has been was first with the BAT. It was one of the global projects in 2000, way back in 2003 in London. And incidentally, with a cigarette company which does not do marketing, which cannot do marketing. So, my first intro to marketing was surrogate marketing, right? How do you manage this? And the whole concept of Lucky Strike sponsoring F1 Grand Prix and all those days. So, and then from there, I worked on in Asia Pacific with Unilever again, some 2 or 3 years, very rich experience as consulting, primarily in the area of trade marketing. So again, it was not direct marketing; it was Unilever very strong on trade marketing. On one side, like countries like India, where it was all general trade and trade marketing, and to very deep account planning in markets like ANZ, where just three retail chains do 90% of sales of Unilever. So how deep they do marketing with in planning with these Woolworth, Coles, and Myers. There's those three, they keep merging and separating, but there were three companies I still remember. So that's where I believe it has gone a leap and bounds with today, how what we see marketing today, with the whole marketing now shifted to a very end consumer focus. So even if it is B2B or a B2B2C, it doesn't matter. I think today there's a whole lot focus on making sure your brands and perception of end customers is very, very critical at this point of time. And their way of digitally adopting various channels, of absorbing, the brand messages, and then how does they use this to basically in the end, interact with the brand. I think a lot new. I think it's a giant change from those days. So enjoying it. Thankfully, in my stint I do get to work across various companies, various sectors. Consumer goods remain my favorite. Automobile remains also my favorite. I worked a lot with industry in the last few years. So yeah, that's what Penny's.
Sarvagya, what about you? Like, you started in an era where there was actually when the change was happening extremely rapidly.
Yeah.
So why don't
Uh,
you talk a bit about your journey?
Yeah, I'm Sarvagya. I'm a digital guy. I started off with digital marketing and moved into product marketing, both B2C and B2B side of businesses, brands. I would say I worked with Google, Samsung, Huawei, and now Oracle. I really like Oracle CX, great proposition out there as a business. So just learning and evolving with Oracle CX and helping our clients to achieve more through our CX solutions.
Great. Just a little background to me as well. I've been a hardcore advertising and a strategy guy. I've been a chief strategy officer with Publicis. I've worked across APAC on Unilever with Lintas. I used to plan on Dirt is Good, which was a Unilever business. And when Ratnesh was talking about Unilever and the ecosystem, I can safely tell you that even in 2007, the kind of challenges we faced on shopper marketing in Southeast Asia, like even in Indonesia, 80 to 90% of their sales used to come only from Carrefour. So suddenly the whole dimension of marketing was about how to manage your retail partner more than your consumer. So
Absolutely.
clearly that's a big shift, which has happened in the area of retail. Digital definitely, and with COVID, the whole direct to consumer bit is something that I do on a more ongoing basis. Last 7 years, I run my own consulting firm called Intertwine, and we also do more of digital brand building and creative under that umbrella. So that's really my background. I enjoy this conversation on shifts because somewhere fundamentally we believe that the kind of last 20 years that we've seen, or 30 years of our careers that we've seen, probably the amount of rate of change that we've experienced and the amount of new things that we've experienced is something which is very rare. And as the Chinese call it, we've luckily lived in interesting times. So in that, on that context, Vivek, the topic of discussion is the future of marketing and challenges from now. I'd like to ask you that what do you think is the future of marketing? What are the challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis, or you feel marketers will face on a day-to-day basis to being future ready?
So the answer to this is very, very long, but I think it will be useful to. No, it can't be a monologue. So I would like Ratnesh and Sarvagya to please come in here. But I think it will be useful to first start from what are the current trends happening in the environment and market, because that brings in the challenges for marketeers and marketing as a function. And if I can enumerate some, I cannot obviously cover all. It's very obvious that digital transformation is the biggest challenge we have seen, and the way it has accelerated in the COVID times. And actually, it has shifted the center of gravity of marketing from marketeers to consumers and customers. Now, imagine that what we were taught 10, 20 years ago, that reach and maximization of connect is the objective. That is no longer an issue, because the reach is in the hand of any market. Anyone with access to technology can reach millions of consumers. I think the trend is nowadays to engage consumers more than reach. That is the first trend I am seeing. The second thing, what we have seen, as you rightly said, in these COVID times, customer and consumer journeys have undergone dramatic changes, and they have changed at really rapid pace. Habits of B2B customers as well as B2C customers, our trade partners, dealers, contractors, they have changed a lot. So I think that is a big change which is happening in the environment. The third big change is what I call regionalization of marketing. It is very obvious. It has been spoken about in India. Of course, there are many India within India. There is ethnic, language-based regionalization. But What we have seen in COVID is that in the first wave of COVID, it was the rural and the small town giving us growth. In this wave, it is the city specific growth. And these waves of growth, they keep changing as different states are opening and closing at different times. So marketeers, as a marketeer, we are living in a time when marketing has to be done in windows and at a regional and city-wide basis. There is no all India plan, there is no year-wide plan, there is no 6-month plan. So that is one big trend which is happening. I think other challenges have been happening slowly, but it's really worthwhile to mention about the fact that yes, there is mass marketing happening at the same time. There is customization of messaging. There is role of micro influencers. There is automation happening in marketing. So all these things are happening, and the whole data volume of data which is coming the way of marketeers. You have to make sense out of that, and then you have to actually draw your actions from that. So those are some of the trends which are happening. If I can pick out 3 or 4 big challenges for us as marketeers, I would say the first biggest challenge for us is maintaining differentiation for brands. And the reason I say this, Divya, is because nowadays, whether it is B2C categories, customer categories, or even technology categories, I've worked in electronics and healthcare, which are technology driven. Access to technology, unless you have patents, is very, very easy for all. You can buy technology, and technology cycles are such that with minor modifications, brands catch up in technology in 6 to 9 months to 12 months. Easy.
So much of democracy in technology.
Absolutely. So democratization of technology is there. So now the question, the biggest challenge for marketer is how to maintain differentiation. And that is where it begins to branch out into routes like you have to maintain differentiation through emotional connects, through brands, or by giving customer experiences, or by giving a purpose to the brand, because a lot of customers and our consumers are beginning to relate more to purpose-driven marketing, and there is that awareness is increasing. Just as 20 years ago, we did not actually realize the role which what I call lawmakers and government play in the lives of marketers. Nowadays, I think regulatory authorities play a very large role because regulations are changing at a very rapid pace. That's the first challenge. And an interlinked challenge to that is then how do we keep our innovation cycles ahead? Where do I innovate? What do I innovate in? Do I innovate in products? Do I innovate in business model? Do I innovate in experiences? I may have to innovate in all. And therefore, I think that is where the issue is. The second big challenge for us is customer and consumer retention. If differentiation of brand is low, to retain our customers, whether it's B2B in industries across pigments, chemicals, or healthcare, or consumers for simple adhesives or chocolates, it's not easy. So how do you retain them? I mean, yes, we can use some technology there. We can use advertising. We can use distribution. But I think these advantages keep on reducing as time goes by. So I think that is second big challenge, retention of customers, because acquisition of customers, as we all know, it's a money consuming process. The third one I think is in the area of Ratnesh and Sarvagya. They are the technology people here. I'm not a technology guy, but we struggle with, and the challenge for marketers is the volume of data which is coming our way. Whether it's my agencies, whether it's my salespeople, whether it's my trade marketing people, whether it's my marketeers, brand managers, and category heads, is humongous. And I don't think marketing as a function has got its arms around analytics as of now fully. They need help. We are seeking help. We are actually establishing centers of excellence around analytics. But I think it's an area which is not fully under control. And I think it is a challenge to marketers right now. The third challenge comes from what I've seen is a lot of marketing processes are getting automated. Now, media buying, if you may smile at me, but in 90, it used to be done on calculators, then it moved into computers, then it moved into modeling, and now we are into programmatic buying. So, and even, CRM program, which Ratnesh spoke about, a lot of marketing can be automated there, and can be any platform. I'm aware of SFDC, but there are other platforms as well, which are equally good. If so much of automation in marketing is happening, the challenge is that what is the real role of marketers then? If so many processes are getting automated, then where is where is that marketers are going to add value? And that is where the real challenge for us is to have a look at our own marketing function and say, I would say yes. Then a challenge lies in connecting the dots, finding the right insights out of analytics and data, and then make sense out of it. You know, and my last bit is challenge for marketer is in capabilities and skills, and that is where we struggle because uh, so much as I've spoken about, so much of change and happen in environment. Do I have enough people with all the capabilities and talent to run all these functions of analytics, digital? The answer is no. When I lose two digital people, I really worry because to replace them with equally capable talent is difficult nowadays.
Yeah.
Talent in digital is scarce, talent in research is scarce, talent in media is scarce. Because these are new skills and they're not taught anywhere. They're acquired through experience, and experience points in industry are few.
Sure.
That is the real thing. And the last but not the least, Divya, you would, I think, relate to this being advertising person. I believe the overarching more challenges happening in marketing function and marketers is to balance between what I call the soft and the hard part of marketing. The hard part has become very hard because of it is led by data, technology, digital automation. So much of data is there, and you can get so much of juice out of it actually when you look at it, and we do. At the same time, you cannot underestimate the role of emotions, emotional connect with customers and consumers, storytelling, and engagement. You know, you can do 8 posts a day, you can, but to programmatic buying and buy millions of impressions. But the fact of the matter is that uh, no one can replace a single piece of creative and digital medium which actually makes an emotional connect. Like I'll give an example of Fevicol. We don't believe in volumes of creative. We believe in few creative which makes and connect. So I think marketing as a profession has to really balance between the hard and soft part of marketing, what I call data and emotions, analytics and storytelling. And not only learn it themselves at senior levels, but also make sure all the middle and the youngsters in my team are equally aware and capable of doing it. And that is where I find my real challenge to train people, to tell them, to talk to them, to ensure that they either don't get only lost in the labyrinths of data or only talk soft issues, soft things. It has to be both. It will please Ratnesh. Somebody was asking me from my ad agency. So, what is the role of creative brief? What is the role of data? I said, look, data analytics, all these reams of tables, it only makes your brief sharper. And after that is the role of emotions and storytelling. So don't underestimate the role of data and technology. I tell my agency, but equally tell my brand category people that whilst you use data, but distill it into few understandable insights, and then leave it to the guys who know the storytelling the best. So I think those are some of the challenges which I'm experiencing now, and I would love to hear from Ratnesh, Sarvagya, and you.
Vivek, you've hit some of the hot topics on literally is the nail on the head. Like man versus machine clearly is one of my favorite topics. Ratnesh's favorite topics as well. We have a lot of discussions on that topic of the role of human role in marketing and the automation and the the technology role of marketing, and how the two come together in a more virtuous way. And exactly what you're talking of, even in the context of what do you call emotions versus hard data. It's a function of how do you actually bring the two together, which is a big challenge undoubtedly. And somewhere I think we'll have to find that pace, because there is one extreme which goes into predictive models. There's which completely can make the role of humans absolutely irrelevant. There's the other extreme of emotion where human beings feel that the way we can connect with humans, a machine cannot. But how do we find that balance is definitely a very rich area from a future perspective, which we almost every time it's a part of the discussion and is a rich area. Ratnesh, you're a specialist in this area, so why don't you speak a bit about that in terms of the future challenges in this area, and how do you think marketers will cope with it?
Oh, so I think Vivek was bang on. There's too much data today being produced, right? If I would kind of use that word, the various departments, various agencies, there was sales data we're talking about. We are also now talking about bots data. We are also talking about, in some industries, machine data coming into. Uh, uh, Obviously, somewhere I think the whole science today is, and it's not humanly possible, is to get insights out of it. I think it is as simple as that. That data has to be converted into information or value, and that's where I think the next front of technology, I think, and I believe all the leading players in this, including Oracle, including Adobe, are trying to get their hand onto this whole customer data platforms, live customer data platform, more towards the marketing side. There have been always data warehouse projects for inside data, which we call it more like your internal organization data, but connecting those to behavioral data and your signals from marketing side is something which is what today most of the organizations are trying to build. So not very surprised, Vivek, when you said even Pidilite is attempting to build insights engines and investing into research and technology onto that side. uh, the second, I think, important thing, especially because since Pidilite being more on the B2B side, what we are seeing here is B2C was, I think, the first one to leapfrog into technology adoption, into all the KPIs, matrices, and all these portals. Absolutely, you can't survive today because most of that thing happening, and COVID has kind of hastened it began. But what we are now very surprisingly seeing is in India adaptations by B2B companies on this front. So I still remember just back, it would have been very difficult conversations to talking to B2B companies around marketing as a function, because they typically talk to industrial marketing, right? And what's the role of marketing on that side of the things? Because if you, especially not on a end consumer product, right, you are basically more on that B2B or on the industrial side of the things. What we are seeing now here is a realization that these very guys who are on the other side and use these platforms are also those guys who after 6 p.m. become the Amazon consumers of the world, right? And they start having that same
Yeah.
experience, right? And then when they come back and see, why can't this happen to us in B2B? Why can't my dispatch and me as a customer be informed proactively about when is my good shipping, when is the good being manufactured, am I ordering this, can that get fulfilled, where is my transport? That experience. So what we're talking about is a consumer experience in a B2B world, and this is where Vivek, you mentioned about the journeys, right? So this is where today I think, besides the transaction, and it is no longer about availability or supply, and it is about that distinction, about that experience. And incidentally, in B2B, organizations are also investing in that nurture. How do you nurture your customers? Which means that you need a lot of data about the customers. Like last 1.5 years, almost physical visits are absolutely down. How do you continue to get insights about your final customer, what they are doing, what are their growth plans? How will I be able to make sales to them in a more effective way? How do I develop more relationships across? And there are signals, there are data which you need to pull this out, because before a sales guy picks up and makes that call, right? So marketers function today is very, very closely merging in that way, aligning and helping sales overcome some of these physical challenges which we seen COVID has kind of disrupted. And I would believe that digital adoption in this area has been massive, because yeah, it's a pandemic, but I think it has also created a massive insight thinking within organizations on how to manage those disruptions. And we have seen, especially on the sales and marketing side, a lot of organizations adopting ways to continue that relationship, continue that nurturing with the customers. So two things. One is the experience in B2B is now virtually becoming like a consumerization or a B2C experience. And secondly, I think the data part, everybody is pulling in as much data together and trying to make insights and informations out of it. And everybody is building and trying to figure out, because what is also happening is that the reaction time is now very fast. So you cannot have a data and you process it and then, create a program, give it to an agency, and then something comes out of 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Those days are gone, I think.
Yeah.
You need to turn it around, create insights, and react and put it back to your orchestration engine very quickly. And that's where I think all these customer data platform projects we are seeing happening across the industry.
Vivek, back to you. So from a perspective of, one was the area that you said was a key challenge area, which was the balancing of the hard and the soft. And the other was this whole area of also automation versus the human side of marketing. So any systemic changes that you believe companies need to make today to actually overcome this? Because I know that a lot of companies are grappling with these, especially these two areas. And the other big area is, that multiple data sources, huge amount of data. How do you really centralize that data? How do you make sense of that data in a more, centralized intelligence manner? So any views you have on that, and any ideas that you have on what are the kind of systemic changes companies should make to actually take advantage of this new world and move forward?
Suggestions on systemic changes companies should make. I'm no one to prescribe changes to companies, but I can talk about few things that one must do to grapple with the changes and challenges that Ratnesh has outlined. I think it first starts with getting your databases organized. That is the fundamental of technology marketing. And Ratnesh was rightly pointing out about the fact that the CRM systems work well and you have to work with the database systems, is right. What I mean by that is, legacy system, because all B2B companies have been selling through physical means all these files. So there's old databases exist. With the existing sales team, there's resistance to share databases, in CRM systems. That is a normal human nature and tendency. So we have to make sure that the databases which are integrated from SAP and from other invoicing systems, etc., ERP systems, is actually the right database, and you have to actually get it right. You have to get it right, organized, and one database should talk to another. What I mean by that is, let's say I'm a B2B company and I'm actually serving my three kinds of B2B customers. One are big key account customers. One is the last set of middle-sized customers who are being served through my dealers, right? And the dealers are being served through distributors. Now, the data pools of actual key account customers and dealers and wholesalers should be interconnected, should be able to talk to each other to see that if there is a connectivity. It is possible that sometimes the key account is buying directly from you and sometimes is buying through a dealer. It happens all the time in real life, and do not know is the same customer. So one customer view comes into play, which I'll talk about later. But the fact is that databases have to really, really work well. I'll give you one more example. For example, if you're selling adhesives, right? Now we are selling it to durable outlet, as well as a plywood outlet, as well as a general store and all kind of stores. And we are selling it to contractors. Now the fact is that I have 3-4 divisions which perhaps could be selling adhesive under the same brand Fevicol to different kind of outlets. Are all those data pools of different businesses and divisions, which are historically organized separately, are they able to talk to each other? So the fundamental of good technology marketing is good database. Simple. Second is that you have to actually map the journeys and you have to study the behaviors of your customers. And I'll elaborate upon what Ratnesh pointed out, which is that let's take our key B2B customers. A B2B customers which comes through call center, and a B2B customers which come through website, and a third customer which comes through when I am participating in an event or exhibition. These three customers behave different levels of technology awareness, different levels of behavior, and different levels of queries and sophistication. I have to map these journeys and figure out that their journeys will be different, and I have to then, in my what I call CRM systems and automation, actually then say, okay, how will I nurture this customer if he comes through website? How will I nurture the customer if he comes through call center? How will I nurture the customer if he comes to call center and goes dead? What do I do? How do I nurture? So these nuances of marketing, I think the marketing teams have to start paying attention to and see. And the challenge is that there has been a fragmentation of touch points. Earlier, it was physical. Now it is physical. It's website. It can be call center. It can be an event. It can be a WhatsApp message. It can be through distributor. It can be through dealer. So you have to make sense of all these customer and consumer journeys, and it's not possible, humanly possible, to do it manually. Those days are over. So technology has to come to our aid. So the second thing which I would suggest is, after getting databases right, is to actually invest into a good CRM system, and then start mapping the customer and consumer journeys, because without mapping, the systems will not work. Ultimately, it's garbage in, garbage out. Of what you ask is what you get. It's intelligence is like that. So you have to put in the right questions, and you will only put the right questions to those CRM systems in terms of building those what I call automated maps, if you have the insights. So that is the second thing. And third thing I would say is that it's a journey of learning, and you have to invest in training your people. It's not sufficient to buy a system and then just put it on top and say, now it's going to work magic and it's going to get me sales. No, you will struggle. You have to train people. You may have to get experts from outside in form of, let's say, expert agencies or expert consultants who will help you make sense of it and who will help you leverage the technology far more. So you can't do everything on your own, and you have to be patient. But the beauty of the system is that the gains are geometric. Initially the curve is a little flat, but then it climbs up. It climbs up beautifully because the scalability of technology is in your hand. But we have to make sure that we have the right databases, we have the right insights, right journeys mapped into it, and see. Then of course you have to give the right propositions. No one can underestimate the product proposition or solution proposition. And third thing which I often talk about is that I won't even take the name of marketing. The business teams have to ensure that all the touch points are talking to each other. Otherwise, it can lead to a big fracture in experience, and it can cause huge amount of dissatisfaction with the customer. What I mean to say here is that, suppose your website is working beautifully, but your call center is not. Then the customer experience goes for a toss. If call center works well, but let's say the response form or the chatbot you have or the app you have is not working well, okay, if all of it works very well, but the sampling which happens physically by your salesperson at the site and demonstration is not working well, it's still not going to work very well. So I think we have to make sure that all the touch points, right, from website to an app to a call center to a Salesforce physical touch point, back to call center, back to sampling, and post-sales support, what we call application support or on-site support, has to work. It can be connected, so they talk to each other. Nothing irritates the consumer than to repeat a story again and again, and to then say, "Acha, this is what happened." So we often underestimate the importance of one customer view, but it's a very nice sounding word. It's very fashionable, and we all very love to take it. But let me tell you, it's one of the toughest things to implement. It is not easy, because it means rolling up your sleeves, getting into databases, connecting them, training people, and making sure that people are trained to deal with the information as it comes from all sources. So, but I think experts are here to detail out and elaborate what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but this is how I see as a non-technical, non-technology marketeer.
Ratnesh, you're an expert on this, on the whole marketing maturity perspective and technology.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm not an expert yet. I think every time I believe I've reached somewhere, then I see 3 new levels, right?
That's true.
Coming my way.
yeah, but I think Vivek has touched upon a very rich topic. The whole idea of a seamless experience and a single data view and interconnectivity is obviously extremely critical. How do you think companies can actually achieve it?
So I see. I think what examples Vivek was giving is very true, right? You need to see that it is not a one-way flow. I think if I want to define it in terms of organizations who have been successful, in some of these projects, and there are plethora of organizations I can tell you have not been successful, right? And it can be culture, it can be a lack of a top-down blessing. There are political nuances or whatever, but a lot of times what we have seen where successful, I would, let me put it in terms of a bit more successful adoptions, have been where I have seen data moving two ways. So, when a lot of organizations build systems which try to, get the data, but they don't share the data back into the ecosystem, right? You want your dealers to pull in all the sales data to them, and bring that data back in. You want all the primary sales, your secondary sales to come in. You want your reps to put in what did they do in terms of visits, activities. You want the marketing plans to get into the system. What are you giving it back to them, right, from an employee? And that's what we talked about: employee experience, customer experience, right? What is a value which a sales rep is getting, for example, after putting in, let's say, 30 days or a 25 days of daily activity record in the field? I'm just putting one example, right? Or what is a dealer getting by sharing his secondary sales and primary sales data with you, right? You're getting great insights from that data. You're doing your demand planning, you're doing your forecasting, you know which products are moving. But what is the dealer getting out of it, or what is the distributor getting out of it? And where we have seen successes is when the data starts moving from, it comes in, and then the inside, the values, the output start going in. It comes into whether it is helping a sales rep in terms of insights and actions, maybe managing his daily call, managing his best customers to go for in terms of predictions or probability of closures, or dealers getting information, as I just spoke earlier: where is my stock, will I get the stock, when is the stock being received, what is the manufacturing status. The two-way, when the ecosystem starts thriving in the data sharing and using the data, we have seen adoption. Because I think in the good old words, it was always like, what's in it for me. So every representative in this ecosystem, when it starts getting a value out of these, you will see adoptions and success happening, and organizations who have built these. And it takes time. And the second point is, yes, it takes time. It is, as you use the word maturity, you cannot have a system where somebody can be moved from an Excel to, somebody says, okay, the system will tell you which is the price you're going to quote because artificial intelligence engine is working on it. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through a journey. There is a maturity, there is an employee experience, there is a maturity of system, maturity of organization, and then you gradually evolve and start taking, okay, this is what I can do. This is where from plan A to B, I will take my systems, my people, my processes. Then I go to this, and this is what some of the key leaders doing. Good point is, it's all available. It is not a deterrent. You can move very fast, but it has to be a journey. You cannot suddenly put a Excel file using people to start using artificial intelligence based decision systems, right, in the field. It will never work. Adoptions will fail. So we've seen some of these challenges happening, but we've also seen great rewards, organizations who have been able to manage that journey. And one point which I mentioned in passing was, how does today this has become, this whole digital adoption or the data driven organizations is a very, very C-level mandate. It's something which no longer a sales head or a marketing head is responsible. It is actually the CEO and the CFO and the CEO are equally putting their stakes in, because they see every part of the business, whether it is product, whether it is pricing, because this impacts everything: which products you're going to sell, which new products are you going to bring in, what is the pricing, what is the margins you're going to run, which is the channel team, which channels you're going to go, which is more effective, what is the best way to reach your customers. So the entire organization's ecosystem gets impacted. So it becomes a C-level mandate. And that's where we see truly, this thing happening very well.
Great. Vivek, would you like to add something to it?
No, I think enough has been said on this, and that really sums it up. But I think Ratnesh is right in saying that the give and take, in the sense that if technology, see, whether the touch point is dealer or wholesaler or my own sales force, they have to see the benefit of that coming to them as well. A salesperson only feels motivated to put his leads in the system early if he finds that he's able to manage more sales lead because technology helps him, or the fact that he's able to cross sell later and then get, because once he puts the lead in the system, there is his imprint on DNA and he gets all the credit. So I think technology has to help what I call every touch point, every stakeholder. And he's right in saying that technology has to be adopted not through the top down push, but through pull. And the pull will come from what Ratnesh said, that what is in it for them. And you have to make sure that you drive that case that as well. I think it's a very fair point.
Yeah. I'll come from with that. I'll come to my favorite question, which is that, we've talked about the future of marketing and challenges and what should we do, what should companies do. But one of the other big areas of managing change is to unlearn. It is to actually stop doing something rather than start doing something. So in that context, what do you think, Vivek, are some of the few things that we should stop doing as marketeers, unlearn as marketeers to actually, take on this new world?
Unlearn.
What
I never answer that because I'll tell you why. Because I say in India more so, for whatever you say, equal and opposite is equally true. What I may tell you today that you must stop doing with my top end customers and consumer, I may have to do the same with my rural consumer. So it's difficult to say what to stop doing, what they must not do. I think the key is to maintain a balance. That is the key thing. But if one or two things I may say is that the key is not to get lost in data, sea of data, and forget the big picture and the insight. And that is where no artificial intelligence can overcome human beings. Human beings can connect the dots the way no one can, because that is how the mind is wired. But what technology can do for you is that it can really go through the sea of data and bring you the few data points for you to connect. So I think one thing to stop doing is not to get lost in sea of data and to always come up, what I call float up, to see the big picture. That is one thing. Second thing, never to lose sight of the importance of what I call engagement with your consumer, engagement with your customer. I mean, that is really, really important as much as reach. The old philosophy of maximization of GRP and frequency, which comes from actually print and TV era, is not so true in digital era, because you have the power of technology in the hand. You can actually bombard the same consumer with equal number of frequency with your message. But I think it will lead to apathy and irritation. So the key is to engage. And engagement one can do in 2-3 ways. One is that you have your storytelling and emotional messaging right. Second is that you give that message to each consumer, customized in the way that what they need, and don't give him more and don't give her more and don't give her less. You see, and so the second big, if I can say, is not to get lost in this what I call a fashionable term of 360. I think that's a bit old. We need few degrees of high degree of engagement than all around bombardment of 360. I think that is where technology can help the marketers to identify which are the touch points some customers want to engage in. Same customer in a same industry, same segment, consumer in the same industry may want to get engaged through a different touch point. And that is where the beauty of building personas through technology is. And and I think we should not use digital technology in the same way in the old frameworks of mass marketing, is what I would say we should stop doing. So, and last but not the least, I say never and stop underestimating the value of storytelling and ideas. An idea is worth millions of dollars as much as technology. I never say technology is not important, but equally important. So a story well told is a story well told. But then you have the power of technology to tell it in the way, in different ways to different consumer wants. Nowadays, just as the way you have many, we see in this OTT platform, movie with different endings, or serials with different endings, and that is where the thing is, the fundamental plot can be the same, but it can have different customization, different ending, different threads for different kind of customers and consumers. So Those are things I think we can take heat off rather than stop and start. So that's difficult to articulate it in that fashion, what we must stop doing.
We used to run a tool around the whole customer journey model, and we used to always say we need to move from the right 360 degree to the right 36 degrees. So it's today's the world of
Yeah,
the right 36 degrees rather than the 360-degree world where you're just bombarding, blindly across mediums. But to identify sharper touch points, sharper, time of the days, as well as the right moment to actually market, would get you the right 36 degrees. Ratnesh, would you want to build on this, and then we'll move to closing notes?
Yeah, so I think the first point is absolutely those whole mass marketing is gone now. Uh, it is personalization. Uh, B2C, it is actually hyper personalization.
hyper.
But in B2B, or at least in some of the other industries, we're still talking about your most profitable segments, your most profitable customers, knowing them well, knowing their insights, and then doing intelligent outreach in a controlled manner, which is very, very uh, valuable, which has insights. It is not marketing, it is marketing plus insights, which means every interaction you're probably adding a value to that interaction. And that's the challenge, right? How do you add value? You need to know that customer, you need to know the preferences, you need to say what is in this interaction I will add as a value in my messaging or my interaction. So every interaction becomes now the other thing which is probably we see some trends is that, and I think we spoke about, is that the creative and the branding side of the things will always remain, the empathy, and we're seeing agencies continue to be owning this, but we're also seeing a lot of insourcing of data, because that's something where we are seeing organizations are trying to bring back data into their organizations. They're no longer only happy to hear an insight from the agency and saying, okay, this is how my next program or my next segment or my next cluster would be. We're seeing data coming back, and every organization is setting up their whole data analytics, because two reasons. Number one, end consumer insights are always much, much better than getting secondary data, which is sales data or a transaction data. It's better to get your end consumer insights, their interactions, their feedbacks, their behavior on your assets, whether it's digital or in physical stores. So get that feedbacks into the system, and then you create you're in control of the data, and you drive it, and then you let the agencies uh, use that for the next part, which is a creative, which they're very good at, right? And putting that emotional connect and structuring it, and obviously the ad and print programmatic distribution, that's anyway out there. So we're seeing that happening now more often, and that's something we're seeing a bit of a reverse. A lot of organizations still are very, very skeptical, because some of these resources are hard to get by, building your own digital teams within the organizations, but at least the leading organizations